Hello, fellow duelists. This is Shadow of the Moon, and today I'm going to be showing you an updated deck profile of my Nordic Aesir deck for September of 2022. The new set that came out, Tactical Masters, it came out not too long ago, actually had like Runik cards, and I've noticed that some people have been building more of like Runik Nordic decks, and I mean, I may test that out in the foreseeable future, but I wanted to actually show you an updated deck profile of my Nordic deck because I did change it up a little bit. I added the Sky Strike, a little bit of a Sky Striker package, so it's kind of like Nordic Sky Striker to kind of give it some more speed and more consistency, because Nordic decks are really good, but they do have a lot of like flaws, and they do have weaknesses, such as it's hard for them to be protected against spells, traps, and effects and everything, especially if you're going first. Because if you pass and your opponent, obviously they can take out the big guys. But this deck is a lot of fun because just how easy it is to bring out the Nordic gods. It's not hard at all because you can literally bring out these 4,000, 3,500, and 3,300 and stuff just with one simple link monster. So without any further ado, let's go ahead and get straight on into it. So first off, we've got 3 copies of Elvis of the Nordic Afar. Elvis is a great card in this deck. Let me move this up here so you can actually see it. Also, I just want to say thank you to all my new subscribers and all the people that watch my channel. You guys rock. Thank you so much for helping by commenting on videos, liking them, and just all in all, just sticking around and enjoying all the content that I have. I'm going to be doing some other deck profiles. I've got some stuff planned, but I already have told you about in the video previously last month that the kind of the stuff that I'm planning on doing. So just, stay tuned for everything, and I just hope that you appreciate it. So obviously with Elvis of the Nordic Afar, if this card is banished by the effect of a Nordic Link monster, meaning Golveg, you can send to the graveyard a Nordic monster you control and 2 Nordic monsters from your deck whose total level equals, and special summon an Aesir monster from your extra deck. If an Aesir monster in your possession is sent to your graveyard by your opponent's card, you can banish this card from your graveyard, special summon 1 Aesir monster from your extra deck with a different name. Cards in your graveyard, and then until the end, you can only play this once per duel. So this is a good way to be able to get an extra Aesir monster out onto the field, because you can always use it with Golveg, but if you're using this to be the target of Golveg's effect, and make it to where you can actually special summon another Aesir monster, which is very, very, very helpful. This is more or less of kind of a going second deck. You can go first, and you can set your Solemns, you can set your Nordic traps and stuff to be able to kind of stall your opponent. But honestly, this is much better as like going second. Then you have 3 copies of Nordic Smith Avaldi, if you control an Aesir or Nordic monster, you can special summon this card from your hand. This card is no more special summoned. You can add a Nordic Relic card from your deck to your hand. You can only activate the effect of once per turn. So obviously, you're going to be searching for your Nordic Relic Hisglaf, or you're going to be searching mainly for the Nordic Relic Sivlin, because Sivlin and Histrock are very, very, very important in this deck. And then you have 1 copy of the, actually, I'm going to show you this one. 3 copies of Nordic Golem Bursty. Golem Bursty is a great card because it can act as preferably a tuner, meaning it's actually very, very useful. And what Golem Bursty does is, if a synchro summon, you can substitute this card obviously for an Nordic tuner for each of the following effects. If this card is normal special summoned, you can special summon a Nordic monster from your hand, meaning you're going to be using him in combo and tandem with the Nordic Smith Avaldi. And makes it very, very easy to pretty much get whatever Nordic monster that you want. I'm glad that they changed that, because before, with a lot of the Aesir monsters, you had to have certain tuners. You had to have like Aesir, Afar, and everything, and it made it a lot more complicated. With Golem Bursty, it completely gets rid of that aspect, and you can literally just use Golem Bursty. Then we have 2 copies of Tangashmir, which is going to help create tokens. This is going to help you get your tokens, so that way you can go into your synchro plays and you have the monsters for it. 2 copies of Valkyrie of the Nordic, not 2 copies, sorry. 1 copy of Valkyrie of the Nordic Ascent. So basically, if you control no cards, you can banish 2 Nordic monsters from your hand, special summon 2 Emberjar tokens, or a level 4 warriors, and then you can, when you summon, so that makes a level 10, meaning you can go into Odin or any of the other ones. So Venedus of the Nordic Ascent. This is in here because you can be synchro summon. You can substitute this card for any Nordic tuner. If this card is sent as synchro material, all other synchro monsters must be Nordic monsters. And then once per turn, you can send a Nordic monster from your deck to the graveyard. This card level becomes the level of that monster until the end phase of the turn. So she's good for being able to manipulate and being able to change her level, so that way you can go into any of the Nordic monsters that you need. And then we have 1 Mara of the Nordic Afar. 1 copy. It's a tuner. When using this card as a synchro potato, the other synchro potato must be 2 Nordic monsters in your hand. It counts because it is a level 2. So if you have 2 level 4s, you can use a level 2, and that will go into your level 10. And then for your hand traps, I've got 3 copies of Effect Failure, because Effect Failure is actually pretty good right now. This is going to kind of stop your opponent from doing anything too crazy by negating the monster's effect. Unfortunately, it does not destroy it, but at least can negate their effect. And then that's it for the monsters. Let's move on to the spells. So we've got 3 copies of Nordic Relic. I can move this up here. Nordic Relic Hitchcloth. So special summon a Nordic monster from your deck, but you cannot special summon monsters from the extra deck except Aesir monsters for the rest of the turn. When that monster is face up on the field, you can banish this card from your graveyard to add a Nordic monster from your deck to your hand. Then shuffle 1 card from your hand into the deck. You can only activate the effect once per turn and only once per turn. So this is going to be helping you also climb, because if you pull this card and you, in a way, you'll be able to get like Golveg and everything, you can potentially, using that in Hippo Carnival and everything, you can go into 2 Nordic monsters on the same turn, meaning that they're not affected and they can't be destroyed by card effects. And pretty much the only thing they can attack is, or the only thing they can destroy is Golveg. That's why I've got 3 in here. I've seen a lot of builds only have 1. If you wanted 1, you could totally run 1. That's up to you as a personal preference, but I like having 3 because it does still help. And then 3 copies of Hippo Carnival. Hippo Carnival is what's going to help you get your tokens for Golveg, because as soon as you drop Golveg, you can play Hippo Carnival. This is going to count towards the monster tribute, the sacrifice, so that way you can go and you can freely have the rest of your spaces for your monsters. And then 3 copies of a new card that I've added, Foolish Burial of Goods. This is going to help you get the Nordic Relic in here, which is very useful. Also, this is mainly in here because this is going to help you go into your Sky Striker, to where if you've got enough spells in your graveyard, you can actually add more tokens, and those tokens can be used as the tributes for the synchro summon of your Nordic monsters. So that's why I run Sky Striker in here, because it does speed up the deck quite a bit, and it does give you tokens, and it does really, really, really help with the deck. Okay, and then we've got just the 1-ups. For the Sky Striker package, we've got Reinforcement of the Army, we've got Called by the Grave, obviously, and we've got Harpy's Feather Duster. So, and then for the Sky Striker package, we're going to be playing Sky Striker Mobilize Engage. So, Engage, if you control no monsters in your main monster zone, you can add a Sky Striker card from your deck to your hand, except Sky Striker Mobilize. If you have 3 or more spell cards in your graveyard, you can draw a card. This helps you be able to draw cards and also get you in the graveyard your spells. Then Sky Striker Mecha Hornet Drones. This is going to give you your token, because if you control no monsters in your main monster zone, you can special summon a Sky Striker token, obviously. And if you have 3 or more spells in your grave, you can effect resolves. A token becomes a 1500 instead. And then we've got 3 copies of Sky Striker Maneuver Vectro Blast. So Sky Striker Maneuver Vectro Blast is, if you control no monsters in your main monster zone, each player sends the top 2 cards of their deck to the graveyard, and as many as possible. And if less than 2, then if you can send at least a card from your graveyard, you have 3 or more spells, you can shuffle all of your opponent's monsters from the extra zone back into the deck. So this is a great way to kind of reset your opponent, the monsters, and just completely board wipe them, because what you're going to be doing is, if you have 3 or more spells into the graveyard, you can shuffle all their opponent's monsters back in the deck, and they have to top deck and you have to top deck. So that really does help you out as well. And then for the traps, that's it for the spells. We're going to be running 3 Solemn Strikes. Obviously, I thought this was appropriate because this is a Nordic deck. And I mean, it kind of reminds me of, the whole, this is very spiritual and everything, and I love the Nordic cards. So this is kind of going to stop your opponent from summoning their monster and everything by paying 1500. And then lastly, you've got 2 copies of Nordic Relic Savant. Savant is going to be great because it stops your opponent. It shuts off all your monsters' effects that are already currently on the field until the end of turn. So keep in mind that this card does not work, obviously, if they start summoning new monsters and everything, but it does shut off the monsters' effect that are currently on the field. So this is very, very good. It kind of acts like a Fog Blade in a way, except you can attack it. So that's going to be it for the main deck. Let's move on to the extra deck. All right, so we've got 2 copies of Father of the Aesir. He's unaffected by traps. Unaffected by spells and traps and everything, and he can come back. You can draw a card by banishing a tuner monster. Same thing with Odin, except Odin cannot be affected by monster. He shuts off monster effects. Same thing with the whole draw. You can special summon it from the graveyard if you banish a tuner monster. And then you've got Loki, Lord of the Aesir. When your opponent activates spell trap during your battle phase, you can negate the activation if you do destroy it, and then once returned during the end phase, you can send a Nordic tuner from your graveyard to special summon him. And then the new Golem Bursty, Golvig. This card is probably the main reason why I play Nordics, especially now, because this allows you to, all you have to do is link into from using a regular Nordic monster, and then this is going to help you go into any of your Nordic gods, because you just banish up to 3 cards from your hand, field, or hand or field, and it lets you special summon from your deck the materials for it. But just keep in mind that if you have this, you cannot special summon anything from the extra deck for the rest of the turn except for Nordic monsters. But it's still pretty much, since this is a Nordic deck, you're not really worrying too much about that. Alright, so that's going to be it for the Nordic package that's in the extra deck. Then we're going to be playing Cyber's Quantum Dragon. And when you control a Link monster, your opponent controls cannot target monsters you control for attacks except for this one. And also your opponent cannot target monsters you control with card effects except for this one. Once returned, if this card, at the end of the damage step, if this card battles an opponent's monster, you can return that opponent's monster to the hand, and this card can attack again in a row. And I thought that was actually very useful because it kind of protects your Nordic monsters even further to make sure that they can't be targeted and stuff. And then we have F.A. Dawn Dragster. This is going to help you negate spell and trap effects and everything, or effect, just by reducing its level. And then you're going to have it. I thought this was a nice little attack card. Super Dreadnought, Rail, Cannon, Gustav Max. I know, say that 5 times fast. So if you have your level 2, level 10, so if you've got 2 Nordic monsters, this is a quick way to kind of get a win, because what you can do is you can essentially use this from overlay using your 2 Nordic monsters, and then from there you can just pay 2,000 damage by detaching the material for it. And then we've got Borlo Dragon, because this is actually a very good card still even now. And then Unicorn, Phoenix, and Unicorn to spin stuff and pop spell and traps. Alright, so that's going to be it for this deck profile. I hope you enjoy this. I do apologize for the camera. I don't know why it looked like it was pulsating there for a little bit. But I love the Nordic archetype, and I admit that it can be somewhat tricky to be able to play with, because it, even though we did get a lot of support for it, there's still a lot of things that it can be done. But I'm just happy that it is very, very playful, and it is a lot of fun, and it's actually really, really good, especially going second, or even if you're going first, you can kind of get your big monsters out on the field, and then at the end phase they can be special summoned if you banish a tuner monster, which is not hard because you're pretty much going to be using all your tuners anyways. And you can use whatever hand trap you want. If you want to use Ash, if you want to use more hand traps, you totally can knock some of these down and everything. So yeah, that's going to be it for this deck profile. Hope you enjoyed it, and with that, see you guys next time. Later.